Good day, everyone. For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin again in Colombia, where despite agreements, the country's peace process remains stalled. Despite announcements that the Red Cross would assist in the release of General Rubén Darío Alzate, the guerrillas released a statement Sunday warning that the freeing of the general could be delayed. He was captured by FARC rebels earlier this month. The FARC is demanding that the Colombian army clear the area where the release is to take place, something that has not yet happened. The armed group has warned that failure to clear the area of military presence will mean that the liberation of the general will be postponed for another week. Now taking a closer look at the FARC's declarations, the guerrilla leadership criticized the Colombian government of President Juan Manuel Santos, charging that an increased military presence in the area where the general was captured is in violation of the protocol devised to facilitate the release of Alzate and 4 other prisoners. The FARC has also criticized the way that the military occupation of the zone is causing problems for the local population, which is comprised of mostly indigenous and Afro-descendant groups. Finally, the guerrilla leadership vowed that if the agreed-upon protocol is followed by the government, then the general will be released to the Santos government as early as next Tuesday. And turning to the Colombian government's response to the FARC rebels, the statement issued by the Ministry of Defense says that their operations will be halted for an agreed-upon time frame which has been established in the security protocols. According to the document, the geographical coordinates have been sent for the release and the area will be cleared by Tuesday. The statement also clarifies that no military operation is taking place in the Chocó region except for civilian protection. And for more in-depth information of the state of Colombia's peace talks, we go to our correspondent Charles Parkinson in Bogotá.
News on the prospects for the restart of Colombia's peace talks is mixed at the moment. Now, we're waiting for the release of 5 people currently being held by the FARC, and the government has said that until they're made free, the peace talks cannot continue. The good news is military operations in the northeastern region of Arauca have come to a halt, meaning that the operation involving the Red Cross to release those 2 soldiers can get underway, and it's expected that they're going to be made free tomorrow. The problem lies in the western coastal region of Chocó, where the FARC is currently holding General Rubén Darío Alzate and 2 companions. Now, yesterday the FARC complained that intense military operations in the area are hampering the prospects of any release, and it might be impossible to release him this week unless the military desists in its activities. Charles Parkinson in Bogotá, Colombia.
And we go now to Mexico, where family members of the 43 missing students from Ayotzinapa are taking it upon themselves to find their loved ones. On Sunday, the relatives organized citizen brigades in the state of Guerrero due to the authorities' failure to deliver new information on the whereabouts of the students. After their first search, the citizen brigades found at least 6 new graves in Iguala. And as parents search, protests continue in Mexico. On Sunday, a group of Zapatista actors joined demonstrations calling for justice for the 43 missing. The actors are just a small part of the ever-growing movement that is demanding answers from the Mexican government regarding the disappeared youth, as well as the thousands of others who have been victimized by Mexico's so-called war on drugs. Moving on to Venezuela now, the United Socialist Party held local elections on Sunday. Nearly 4,000 representatives were elected throughout the country in what is being referred to as renovation of the party's local leadership. The PSUV is Venezuela's largest party with some 7 million militants registered. President Nicolás Maduro praised the electoral process of the party, citing it as evidence of the Venezuelan people's commitment to the Bolivarian revolution. And in Bolivia, President Evo Morales inaugurated a school in the city of Cochabamba that will host nearly 400 students. The project is part of Morales' policies of improving education, which has seen the government dedicate 7.9% of its GDP to education. The president also referred during the inauguration to the upcoming bioceanic train, which will connect the Atlantic and the Pacific. The project has been launched by Peru, but Bolivia is seeking to become an associate of the initiative and is discussing inclusion with the Peruvian government. Taking a look at world news now, we go to the United States, where tensions in Ferguson, Missouri continue to mount ahead of the grand jury's decision regarding the shooting death of unarmed black teenager Michael Brown. Protests were held on Saturday and at least 3 people were arrested. The demonstrators surrounding the building in which the jury in charge of Brown's case is meeting. Now, according to officials, the jury has yet to reach its final verdict on whether the officer who shot Brown will in fact be indicted. Staying in the United States, Defense Minister Chuck Hagel has stepped down after 2 years on the job. The Defense Secretary has come under criticism for the perceived failure of the U.S. strategy in the Middle East and what is considered by some in the Pentagon as a failure over the Ukrainian crisis. Officials told the press that Hagel decided to resign after holding a series of conversations with U.S. President Barack Obama. And moving on to Vienna, representatives of Iran, Russia, China, and the West met to discuss the Iranian nuclear program. The 9-month negotiations are still at a standstill. British Secretary of State Philip Hammond says the 7 countries in the talks are now giving the, quote, last push. Notably, the United States held discussions with Saudi Arabia over the nuclear talks developing in Vienna. Despite not being part of the negotiations, Saudi Arabia perceives Iran as its biggest enemy in the region. If an agreement is not reached after Monday's deadline, the group of countries has vowed to set a new round in the future.
To give any false hopes here,
To Syria now. The battle for the border town of Kobani continues. Heavy U.S. bombing was reported on Sunday targeting Islamic State targets. The Kurd forces and Islamic State militants continue fighting for control of the city. The Kurds have now taken over half of the city and the IS group controls the other half. The besieged town of Kobani has been under heavy fighting for over 2 months and represents a pivotal fight in the regional war against the Islamic State. Taking a look at global economics, it appears that the Brent oil price has stabilized, recovering from recent decreases which had dropped the price to around 30%. But the price increased over the weekend, reaching a stable $80 per barrel. The Venezuelan government and other OPEC oil-producing countries are trying to reach an agreement on reductions in oil production to push the price upwards. We have plenty more on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle. Hope you have a great Monday.